Hi guys, welcome to Windsome Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah and I'm so glad that you decided to join me today. We are in the cottage and it's another Sunday where we're doing some random projects before I head back into the city. Today you might notice behind me that I've got this glorious load of plants in the four-wheeler and we're going to get them in the ground. All these plants actually came from my work. They had a couple raised beds that they're going to be eliminating to make it easier to mow. And I was up there with their buildings and grounds manager the other day, and he mentioned this, and I said, oh, where are you going to move all these plants to? Because there were a couple really good ones. And he said that they were looking for homes for them, and I promptly offered to give them a home. There are 5 hellebores and 2 lupins in here. Now, I don't know if the hellebores are all different types or the same kind. I think there's at least a couple different types because I did pay attention to them a little bit this year, but it was an area I don't think I got out to while they were blooming. But I was able to get really good root balls, and though I'm really excited about those. And the lupins are beautiful blue ones, which we don't have as many of, so I'm going to actually be planting those and hopefully establishing another area for lupins in the garden. The first thing we're going to plant, though, is the hellebores, and as you might be able to guess from where we're stopping, they're going in this side path that we've spent a lot of time in. And if you are an eagle-eye viewer who has been following this garden throughout the season, you might notice that some progress has been made on this path on the side yard. So this path is one that my dad has actually been working on for a good chunk of the summer so far. It's not 100% finished. He's still working on some stuff down there. But this was an area that we had some runoff problems, and what we ended up doing was a series of steps that are shallow enough that the four-wheeler and lawnmower can still go up and down them, but will help with the runoff issues we've had. And he also brought in some like crushed limestone base. So no more dust bowl, and that will soon be with the same material as well. The other thing he did, which I don't know if we'd originally planned on, was brought in a load of rocks to kind of give it a nice finished edge, which again he's still working on a little bit, and I'll continue along the way. And he did have to bring in some soil, in part because in order to evenly divide the grade, there were areas we had to actually build it up and areas we had to cut away. So he just kind of made it more natural looking, and I think it turned out really, really well. And now that it's nearing completion, we can put some plants in some of these beds. So all the hellebores are going to be going in here. I think what I'm going to actually end up doing is put 3 of them in here, and then probably like 1 here-ish and maybe 1 here-ish. I haven't fully decided. We already have 2. 1, 2 in here. Oh, and I could probably do some cutting back as well. And I don't really want to add any more in this area because once these bulk up, they will fill the space admirably. So instead, we're going to spread the joy outward. This bed, my dad is actually not quite done yet. What he's going to do is build it up just a little bit more and raise the soil level. So we won't plant any in here yet, but we will likely come back to this later this season. So why don't I get you guys set up, place the things, plant them, and then I'll give you a look at where they ended up a little bit closer. All right, the last one's in and they look great. I cannot wait to see these next year. I have some hellebores from my house I've been meaning to divide, potentially. I know hellebores don't always like dividing, but they're overgrowing the space they're in. And they're also putting out babies, so I'm waiting till those get a little bit bigger. And I figured over time, we just dot them along this tree line. So let's go look at them a little bit closer. Look at this. I think this softens us so much, and we've decided we're not actually going to continue on with the ferns. The ferns are going to stop there, though I could see like a bright yellow Hakana Cloa in between both of these to provide some like movement and color difference, and maybe something spiky behind. That's what I'm kind of thinking at this moment in time. But we stuck one in each edge, and I did put one with the smallest root ball. This is something to do with our septic system. I can't quite remember, but I think over time what this will do as this grows is it won't grow over it, but it'll hide it. And we'll just know that that's where it is. And we won't have to see this odd little thing anymore. So those are 3 of them. And then the other 2 got popped along here. We got one right here tucked in. We're kind of thinking that these 2 trees, though they've put on a ton of growth since we put them in, I think they'll meet about here, and I'm hoping there's going to be like a little inlet that'll just be able to stay in perpetuity. We're not going to plant a ton between them, but a little something to soften the rock path. And similarly, we have this one right here between these 2 trees. This one is actually planted a little further back than this guy is, in part because our property line goes a little bit like that. So I don't think that it's a little bit closer to that tree, but I don't think this is ever going to be an issue. And it's also kind of marking now where we have this is our gutter system is tied into this as well. So this is the overflow of where it goes when it's overwhelmed. So it'll be nice to know it's right by this hellebore. And I think it's going to look beautiful from down there as well. I'm further down the yard, and you can just see that one right there and one right there. So I think it's going to be so pretty and provide an early pop of spring color. But I am down in the area where we're going to put the lupins, and I wanted to kind of touch base on a couple things because this is actually an area we did add other plants I got from work in last year, and as expected they died. So I'm hoping these have a tiny bit more luck here. But I wanted to explain before we plant them, because you're going to look at this and be like, oh, those are pretty shady. We're actually going to be shifting something that I think will give it a little bit more sun. Right, we are in this bed. This is the wisteria bed, and you can see the hydrangeas are just going for it. These red hot pokers, we're probably going to move next year because I don't think they quite get enough sun now that this river birch has grown behind me. He's kind of done a very good job of shading. And the other thing that's happening is this is blocking any morning light. But this is actually going to be moved next spring. We were thinking about doing it this year, but things have just grown up, including it, and it's going to be a lot easier to do with new growth in the spring. So we've got this on our list to move in the spring, which will create an opportunity for our hibiscus that's already here to do better. This, which we moved from my house last year, sedum, to do better. If you were following along last year, you might remember that I put some sunflowers in here that did not survive the winter, which is a bit of a bummer. Ironically, one of the root balls must have had some columbine in it, which is what this is, which I've left, and we'll happily let that kind of naturalize because it will be put on a show when this is still small. But I think there's enough space for one lupin here, one lupin there, and we will just kind of let the whole thing naturalize. This sedum we might end up shifting because we'll have to wait and see how he does next year. I can tell based on how he's flopping and looking that he's getting too much water. So maybe we might find a different spot for him. But for now, they're going to be joined by lupins. All right, they went in fairly easily. These plants look a little rough, and I think it's because they need water. But I think they're probably going to make it. And if not, they have a ton of seeds that'll drop, and new plants will take their place next year. And you can see I popped one right back here. We do have an iris right here. That is a black one called Raven Girl. And then one right here. And I think will be really pretty because this is actually going to undergo a little bit of change next year. We're still figuring everything out, but this is definitely going. And these wisteria might also be relocated. We're still considering that. And the red hot pokers are also probably going to go in preference for something that can tolerate a bit more shade. A garden's never complete. There's always something you want to tweak or mess with, and that's half the fun, is just fine-tuning it time after time, even when it's 11, 12, 13 years old like this one. So I'm really glad that you decided to join me today with some more Sunday projects. A lot of my videos that are filmed on Sundays at the cottage end up being like this, where there's a horde of plants or a task that I've been meaning to do all weekend that I just need to quick do. So they turn into a little bit of amalgamation, and I'm thrilled that I did get these in the ground. Hopefully they take over and we'll be able to check in on them next week, because I'm going to be filming a garden tour then that will walk around all the areas in a little bit more in depth with some varieties. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.